Okay, and then I'll go live in here. So I just have to go live in 6 different places at the same time, which is a lot of clicking. But there we go. I think that it's everything. I'm going to move you down here. Get rid of this, and we are good to go. Okay. Where's my camera? There it is. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AI with Kyle. It is the 7th of January. Again, we are still in a lull period. There's not much AI news going on, so what I'm going to do today is a bit different. I'm basically going to give a book report. It feels like being back in school. I'm going to talk about Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mollick. It's a book that's been out, I think, since 2024, and it's one of the very, very few books on artificial intelligence that I actually recommend people reading. The reason for this is a lot of books on AI age very, very quickly. A lot of the classics that you read now, things like Superintelligence by Nick Bostrom, were written before ChatGPT became public. So a lot of it feels kind of out of date because it was really hard to predict what was going to happen with ChatGPT and with modern AI as we know it. So nothing against those authors. However, Ethan Mollick's book was released after the release of ChatGPT 3, and I think it's one of the most useful books for understanding how we should be thinking about artificial intelligence. It doesn't talk about specific technologies, it doesn't talk about specific models, but instead it gives us a mental model for how we should be thinking about AI as a whole, as a co-intelligence. So I'm going to quickly run through a couple of the main points in this book, and I highly recommend that you go and check it out. It's available in all normal places, Amazon obviously, as well as, something's clicking on, excuse me, there we go, as well as your local bookstore. It's also translated into loads of languages as well. I remember seeing it in China, and I should have picked up a copy there. So we're going to be looking at this book, Ethan Mollick's Co-Intelligence, Living and Working with Artificial Intelligence. So I've put together a presentation in Notebook LM, one of my favorite AI tools. This is not sponsored, I just think it's really good. It was able to throw together a presentation for me in about 5 minutes while I had my morning coffee this morning. Really, really cool tool. So the book Co-Intelligence was released after the release of ChatGPT 3, before the release of ChatGPT 4, 5, etc., but it came after that watershed moment when suddenly we had in our hands an artificial intelligence, a large language model specifically, that was genuinely quite useful. And I don't know about you guys, but I remember at the time when ChatGPT or GPT-3 came out, I remember trying it and thinking, it's not very good, but I could see how this is going to be a problem. Because at that time, I was running a digital marketing agency and we were putting together sales pages, ad copy, etc. for companies, for clients. And I remember realizing, oh, this is going to be a huge problem for the work that we do later down the line. So it was at this point that I started to throw myself into learning as much as I could about artificial intelligence. And off the back of that, I've actually created, AIwithKyle.com. And over the years, a year and a half, 2 years since the release of ChatGPT, the public version, I wrote many playbooks, over 100 playbooks, and they reach over 5,000 to 10,000 words. Basically, this was my way of learning how to use AI. A lot has changed since then. So Ethan Mollick's book starts with kind of explaining why AI is important and why we need to pay attention to it. That part of the book, I think, was really important when the book was released. Now you can kind of skip it because you don't need to be convinced that AI is important and that AI is changing things, because we can see that. We know it is, and increasingly the rest of the world is coming around to it. If you're watching this live stream, if you're watching YouTube, if you're reading a book like Co-Intelligence, you're already on board with this notion. So the first third of the book or so is basically talking about how AI is here and it's important and it's something you need to pay attention to. We can kind of skip that part. What I want to jump to is actually the concept of the jagged frontier. So Ethan Mollick coined this term in the context of generative AI and artificial intelligence as a whole. Oh, what's going on here? Excuse me. There we go. My computer's been very annoying. So Ethan Mollick coined the term jagged intelligence in artificial intelligence. And I think it's really important because you will often see people saying, well, AI is not very good. I don't see what the big deal is. And if you use AI on a daily basis, if you use it for coding, if you use it for planning, if you use it to run your business, you might look at those people and think, are they stupid? What are they missing? I use it every day. It's made me 10 times more productive. So why are these people saying it doesn't work? Are they just Luddites and they're not interested in AI and they're sticking their head in the sand and they're willfully saying it's a load of crap? Or is there something going on here? And I think the Jagged frontier helps a lot to explain this. We don't need to assume that these people are stupid. We can just assume that they are using it for different things, and maybe AI is not as good in those particular roles as what we use it for. So I personally use AI for coding. I use it to vibe code, I use it to create products. AI is really good at that, really, really good at that. And it makes sense because a lot of the researchers, a lot of the teams, a lot of the products are focused on that. Things like Claude Code, specifically focused on programming. So no wonder AI is getting very good at programming and getting faster and faster. That does not mean that that rate of progress is happening the same across the board. We have what Ethan Mollick calls a jagged frontier. AI is not universally brilliant or stupid. Its capability is a jagged frontier. It can be superhuman at one task and surprisingly bad at a similar one. One of the big contradictions in AI right now is the fact that advanced AI models can solve complicated mathematics. It can reason through a proof, and they're actually solving things like the Erdos problems, which have not been solved before. That's debatable, but at high level, large language models are very good at mathematics, but they also can't count the number of R's in strawberry or in raspberry or whatever the viral post you happen to be looking at is talking about. And people are like, well, why is that? Well, that's because there is a fundamental architectural reason for that. And because of the way large language models are built, they think in tokens, and sometimes those tokens do not align with a particular word, so it can't actually count within it. They're not counting machines, they're not computing machines. We have that already, we have computers. So this leads to this weird situation where AI can be really good at some things and terrible at others, the jagged frontier. And if somebody is using AI or trying to use AI in a situation that is not suited for, or that it has not progressed in very quickly, they're going to come away thinking, well, AI is a bit rubbish. I had somebody the other day criticizing AI in one of my comments, kind of saying, well, I tried to play chess against it and it was rubbish at chess. It was not built for that. That's not what the large language model was created for. We have very clever chess computers. Go and play them. They are incredibly good. That is a solved problem and not the problem that large language models are focused on. So we have to remember that people will be using AI for things that it is not necessarily good at. And that's probably why they will then go online and say, well, AI is a load of crap. It's rubbish. It makes things up. It can't do this. It can't do that. This is why. So Mollick's example, an AI can write a perfect sonnet about a product launch, but it may fail to summarize that same text into exactly 25 words. It's because it can't count. It's not a counting machine. It is a connection machine, not a database. It works on patterns, not knowledge. It does not have a big database of all the world's information in the same way that Google does. It can access that via searching, but that's not how large language models work. And the quicker people realize this, the more they can align their expectations. I'm gonna hop over to some questions. Follow me, I have a surprise for you. I don't think I will, but thank you. My computer's really acting up today. I can't actually scroll through the questions. There we go. Not seeing any questions, that's fine. I'm just going to plug on. Again, I'm doing this today because there's very little AI news, so I'm just going to do other topics. Okay, so Ethan Mollick talks about AI as a co-intelligence, something that we're going to work alongside. I find this a really useful model. So we don't have to compare ourselves to artificial intelligence, but instead we understand that it's a different type of intelligence and it's one that we're going to be working alongside. He actually also talks about an alien intelligence. AI should be an alien intelligence instead of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence as a term is a bit confusing because it requires us to have a definition of natural intelligence. which we don't really, to understand what artificial intelligence is. So it's a bit of a ham-fisted terminology already. So instead, we're going to be working with an alien intelligence. It is something that is different to how we think. And the quicker we understand that, and the quicker we adapt to the fact that it's a different type of intelligence, the more productive we can be with AI. And Ethan Mollick talks about two particular models, and this is a really useful mental model. You can work with AI as either a centaur or as a cyborg. I'm just going to read through this. So a centaur, there is a clear division of labor. So in the mythical centaur, it's half human, half horse. So you're split in two. There's a clear division of labor, and you decide which tasks are for the human and which tasks are for the AI. I do this in my own business. I use artificial intelligence to automate a huge amount of work, but then I leave the tasks that I think are uniquely human for me, the human. So that includes things like what I am doing right now, doing a live stream. I could use an AI to create an avatar of myself. It would probably be a lot more polished. It wouldn't stumble over its words. It wouldn't have IT problems, but I don't believe that's a good use of artificial intelligence. That is a value judgment on my side. I think that instead this creates more connection with fellow human beings, and it is important use of human time. So I like to split things between what should actually be done with a human and what should be done with an artificial intelligence. You split in two. So an example here, you handle the strategic thinking and client relationships, talking to people in your business, and the AI analyzes the data and generates the first draft of a report. So we split the functions between and we work together. The one difficulty with this is that increasingly the AI is getting very good at doing more and more and more and more of the human tasks. So we are in a position where we're basically under siege. A couple of years ago, we could very safely say, well, these tasks are for humans and the AI will never be good at them. Those tasks are getting eroded bit by bit by bit as AI shows it has more capability, and we as humans are not increasing our capabilities. Instead, it's very much a defensive action with AI squeezing us and taking away our tasks. So the Centaur works, but you need to be realistic about what is genuinely human. What can you genuinely do better than an AI, and what should you be focusing on? And increasingly, that is a debate you need to have every couple of months because the AI is getting better and better. And we need to continuously assess this, because a lot of people are still using AI in the same way as they were using it 2 or 3 years ago with ChatGPT. That's not going to work. It's getting better and better. The second model that Ethan Mollick talks about is the cyborg. So instead of having a separation, instead of having AI tasks and human tasks, we merge. So this is a deeper integration. The AI is a constant collaborator woven directly into your creative and analytical process. So Mollick, for example, used AI to help him write the book Co-Intelligence. He used it as a writing partner. He did the writing, but used AI constantly for brainstorming, getting feedback, suggesting sentence endings, and checking citations. This is how I use AI in my day-to-day for most things. I cannot imagine not running my business, not running my content, not running my life without artificial intelligence, which is wild considering we've only had modern AI for about 2 or 3 years, but I am completely absorbed, and I'm sure a lot of you are as well, and could not live without it anymore. So that is a much deeper integration where you bring AI into every area of your life. These are two different models. One is saying there's a demarcation and never the two shall twixt. And the other is saying, no, we're going to integrate AI into every part of your life. Both of these are valid, but you need to engage with AI and work out what one's going to work for you. It's a tricky decision. I'd love to hear what you guys do, and whether maybe you use one model, the Centaur, in your daily personal life, and maybe use the cyborg in your professional life, because we all have different roles, we all have different kind of responsibilities in society. So maybe how you use AI depends on how you are acting that particular day. I'd love to hear what you think though. Okay, hopping over to some questions. Nothing today, that is fine. All good. Okay, so there are 4 rules for co-intelligence that Ethan Mollick talks about in his book, Co-Intelligence. So the first one is, at least right now, always invite AI to the table. So we are still trying to work out what we can use AI for. And the only way we can do that is by testing it, by trying it out and working out its capabilities. Knowing what AI is good at, knowing what AI is not good at, and knowing how to tell the difference is a core skill moving forward. I often bump into people and they're using AI in totally wild ways that I know inherently is the wrong way to use artificial intelligence. But the only way I know that it's the wrong way is because I've tried it, or I've tried something that's been similar and it has not worked. So you kind of need to build this judgment, and this judgment comes from using AI on a daily basis. So when you try a new task for the first time, whatever it is, you try to bring AI into that process. The easiest way to do this is if you feel yourself going towards Google for a certain question or needing to find a resource, try using AI instead. That is the simplest, most naive way to do this, and that's a really good start. So try always to reach for AI naturally as your first instinct. And if it does not work, then you have learned that this is not necessarily the best place to use artificial intelligence. This is going to be connected to the second rule, which is you still need to be a human in the loop. You still need to apply your judgment. But first and always, we always try to use AI in a particular process in order to work out whether or not AI is worth using there. That's the only way. That is the only way to do it. You try, and it's a taste test, and if it does not work, we don't do that again in the future. So that's the first one. Second, be a human in the loop. So if we are trying to integrate AI into all of our lives, either as a cyborg or a centaur, as per the 2 mental models, we need to maintain judgment. We need to be there to monitor the outputs, to check the work, and to make sure that the AI is actually helping us rather than just automating away our work and then we are unthinking. So Deloitte probably is the best example of this. Last year, 2025, they had 2 very public cases where their staff members had used artificial intelligence to produce reports, one for the Australian government and one for a Canadian provincial government. These reports had errors. The AI had created citations, it created academics, it created papers and added them into these reports. The humans who put together these reports and got paid very well to do so did not check. The human was removed from the loop. So instead they trusted the AI and then they published to the Australian government and charged them 440,000 Australian dollars for the report. When they were found out, when it was discovered that the academics who were cited in this paper were not real, they looked like idiots. And they bring the whole consulting and advisory industry into ill repute. And their clients are going to be asking, well, if Deloitte are just using AI to prepare these reports, why am I paying them? Why am I paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars? Maybe I should just use AI myself. If that's all they're going to do and they're going to charge me for the luxury of that, then why am I paying them? Really good question. Consultants as a whole are in trouble. So we need to have a human in the loop who is going to check the results of the work. This is why I'm still quite positive for a lot of jobs, because yes, 100% we can automate work, but we still need somebody who has the judgment, somebody who has the skill and the taste to tell whether the work is of a good quality or not. So if you are in that position, if you're high up in a company, you are still going to be lent on for that kind of work. That is not necessarily the case at the lower rungs. So it's going to have a very confusing impact on jobs by knocking out the lower rungs but leaving the higher rungs in place, because we still need a human in the loop for judgment and to tell whether the output is good or not. So the 4th rule of co-intelligence is treat AI like a person, but tell it what kind of person it is. So this is very similar to my prompt framework that I use and teach, the RISEN framework, which is role, instructions, steps, end goal, and narrowing. The first thing I always do when I'm talking to an AI is I will say something like, you are an expert copywriter, or you are experienced in writing sales pages, or you are a newsletter editor. I give it a role. I do not say act as, because then it tends to role play. I'm saying, no, you are a copywriter. What this does is it limits the scope of your artificial intelligence. Because an AI can act as, it can be anything, that leads to more generic responses. So we want to limit the scope and tell it exactly in what way we want it to work with us. So it's a really useful prompt when you start working with any AI, just to say, okay, I want you to be this. I want you to act in this role. I want you to be a copywriter. And based on that, that's given it a set of expectations and a set of kind of rules by which the AI is going to work with you. So really, really useful. So interacting with an AI conversationally is more effective than treating it like a search engine. Tell it its role. You are an expert copywriter. You are a skeptical investor. But remember, it's an illusion. It lacks consciousness and true understanding. It doesn't need consciousness to be useful. Super important. Utility is the most important thing here. Who cares whether it's conscious? Who cares whether it's thinking? We only care whether it can do the job well for us. And then the fourth and final rule from Ethan Mollick is assume this is the worst AI you will ever use. So many people use AI, get a bad result from it, and they're like, AI is rubbish. I'm never using it again. The AIs that we are using now, today, GPT 5.2, Claude Opus 4.5, Gemini 3 are the worst they're ever going to be. AI gets better and better and better every single day, every single month. And we have this constant cycle between the best model. So you'll see this online in particular. You'll see ChatGPT is dead, Gemini 3 is the new king. And then a month later it'll be Gemini 3 is trash, cancel your subscription, Claude 4.5 is the new king, etc. And so it goes. They are all competing with each other, spending a huge amount of money and improving their models every single month. I do a daily news show on artificial intelligence, and generally, apart from this week and around Christmas, there is something new every single day. So you have to assume that AI is the worst it has ever been for you. What I like to do is I always have a task which is like an intractable task, a task that AI hasn't been able to help me with. And then whenever a new model comes out, I take that task that previously I've not been able to solve and give it to the new model to see whether it can do that task. And the complexity of those tasks increases and increases and increases each and every time. So you just have to assume that even if AI cannot do the job you want it to do now, just wait. 6 months, 12 months, probably not even that long, it will be able to do that, which is as terrifying as it is exciting. So the pace of improvement is staggering. What seems magical today will be obsolete tomorrow. This mindset encourages continuous learning and adaptation. So important. We're all learning right now. Even Andrej Karpathy, the co-creator of ChatGPT, on the 26th of December, he put out a tweet saying, I feel like I'm falling behind. This is the co-creator of ChatGPT and he feels overwhelmed. We are all learning, we're all working this out. And anyone who says they're an expert and they know everything about AI is either stupid or they are consciously lying. Everybody is working this out as we go along, which is, again, exciting and terrifying. So these are the 4 rules from Ethan Mollick's Co-Intelligence. Always invite AI to the table. Make it the first thing that you reach for so that you can learn what it's good at and what it's not good at. Remain a human in the loop. Make sure you are there for taste. Make sure you are there to check the results. Do not blindly rely on the artificial intelligence. Otherwise, you're going to get in trouble and you're going to stop thinking. Treat AI like a person, but make sure you define what type of person it is. Give it a role. Tell it you are a copywriter. You are a critical thinker who's going to help me work through an argument. And also assume that AI is the worst it will ever be. If AI cannot do something today, just wait. 3 months, 6 months, and it will probably be able to do that. Betting against AI right now is a pretty dumb bet. It's getting better and it's getting better faster. So yeah, it's a dumb bet to bet against it. I'm actually going to skip this stuff because it's more to do with organizations. What I'm going to do though, is I'm going to put this book report, this book summary into tomorrow's newsletter, including this, presentation, and I highly recommend you check out Ethan Mollick's Co-Intelligence. It's a really good book, one of the very few books that has remained relevant despite being written a year ago and the speed of artificial intelligence being absolutely staggering. I highly recommend you check it out as something that you read. But hopefully this has been a useful introduction to the main concepts behind it. So we've covered the Jagged frontier, super important, and a really important concept in artificial intelligence. We've covered the two mental models, so you can either use AI as a Centaur or you can use it as a Cyborg. So you either split what you're doing with artificial intelligence or you fully synthesize. And then we looked at the 4 rules of co-intelligence: inviting AI to the table, remaining a human in the loop, giving AI a role for its tasks, and assuming AI is the worst it will ever be. I'll put all of these notes and some more resources into the newsletter tomorrow. The newsletter is totally free. You can find it by following a link around this video. It should be in my profile, or you can go directly to aiwithkyle.com. If you click on start the free challenge or join community, they'll sign you up for the newsletter as well, and you'll get that newsletter every day with the summaries of these lives. Awesome. So I'm actually gonna pop over to the questions. Oh, one quick thing. Tomorrow, Thursday, I'm giving a webinar. I need to change this because I did one last night. So the next webinar is on Thursday, January the 8th, talking about how you can go and educate businesses on artificial intelligence and get paid very well for doing so. We had about 100 people on the webinar last night. Thank you for anyone who made it out. I hope it was good. You listened to me talk for nearly 2 hours and everybody stayed, which I thought was amazing. And I'm doing another webinar tomorrow, Thursday, January the 8th. I'll try not to go on for 2 hours, but apparently people liked it, so we'll see how it goes. Totally free, and you can find that at aiwithkyle.com/webinar. That will bring you here, and then you just sign up. I need to change this website. But hopefully I'll see a few of you tomorrow. I'm just gonna pop back and see if there's any questions. No, I'm not seeing any. That is fine. Alyssa says, artificial intelligence generalist here. Honestly, Alyssa, we're all generalists at the moment. We're all working out how to use AI on a daily basis, and that is fine. Being a generalist means you are open to trying things out, experimenting, working out how to use AI. And I think that is the healthiest place to be right now, because it changes so fast that anyone who gets stuck in a niche, who gets stuck in a rut, is going to get left behind. You just have to keep learning, which is very cool, but can sometimes be overwhelming, 100%. Gojin says, thank you for all this information. Right, I'm gonna actually finish up this stream, keep it nice and short and tight. Again, everything is gonna be in the newsletter. This will also be on YouTube. We'll tidy up this presentation, edit out my ums and ers, edit out me getting distracted and the technical difficulties, and you'll be able to find the presentation on YouTube. The YouTube channel is the same username, so I am Kyle Barmer. Oh, we're nearly at 12,500 subscribers. That's awesome. So you'll be able to find that plus all of the other previous lives on here and a whole lot more. So go and check out the YouTube channel and subscribe as well. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much.